Hey, and welcome to another episode of Top Shots. This is a series where we get you excited about heading back into New South Wales and taking photos. Today on the show we have Dallas Kilponen. Dallas is a professional photographer with over 30 years experience, 23 of those years at Fairfax, where he shot the Sydney Olympic Games, Sydney to Hobart 10 times. Dallas, welcome to the show.
Pleasure to be here. Thanks, Mitch.
Mate, it's a pleasure to have you here. Today we're going to go through a bunch of your photos that were taken in New South Wales. But why don't we start with how you first got into photography?
So I grew up on the northern beaches of Sydney and always had a connection with the ocean, surfing and sailing. And I guess I was inspired by the surfing magazines of the day, Surfing World magazine. It led from there, from high school, setting up a dark room at school, to beginning to dabble in shooting surfing, and eventually got my first photo published in Tracks magazine in 1987.
All right, why don't we start talking about some of your work? Sydney to Hobart, you've shot this event around 10 times, correct?
Yeah, I've done the race 10 times and I just have a deep connection with the race. My father won the race in 1977 on a famous yacht called Kialoa 3. He passed away sadly many years ago, and I decided I wanted to do the race, and I took not only to honour his love of the race but also to document the race and to capture something different about the race. It was always great images from the start in Sydney Harbour, which is beautiful, and the great photos from the finish. But I wanted to bring readers on board the yachts for the duration of the race, and particularly Bass Strait. So this shot, it was on the first night, probably just off the coast near Wollongong, and beautiful sunset. And this is our bowman who was just retrieving a spinnaker sheet. For me, I just love the symmetry of the shot with the spinnaker and the mainsail and the boom, and the way he was suspended above the sunset. Sydney siders and people in Australia, we all sit down and we enjoy it on Boxing Day after a big Christmas day, and probably combine it with the cricket. I don't think we quite realise how highly regarded this race is held internationally. People from around the world will tune in and follow every minute of this race because it is regarded as the Everest of ocean racing. A lot of people go out to watch the start. They're not actually particularly sailing fans, but it's just about being a part of something iconic and special. There are so many great vantage points to Sydney Harbour. The ones I'd recommend would be Nelson Park. South Head is probably one of the best. North Head for the northern beaches residents and people coming from the north is another great vantage point. Also Dobroyd Point near Middle Head, that's a great aspect because you can see the yachts going out the heads. And of course, the last one, which is probably the best way to get as close as you can and to follow the fleet, is to be on a spectator ferry, which are operated through various tourism operators. And it's probably the best way to get a little more connected with the yachts and feel like you're a part of the race, because a lot of the spectator ferries will follow the yachts after the start and out the heads and down the coast a little bit.
Let's go to another big event that you've shot, the Broken Heel Festival in Broken Hill, which is a festival that celebrates the film Priscilla, Queen of the Desert. What can you tell me about this photo?
So the performances were incredible, but then it was that combination of these performances with this great outback town of Broken Hill that has so much history. So just the juxtaposition of big hair and boa feathers and stilettos and jewellery and wild makeup and wigs with the outback of New South Wales. It was exactly what Priscilla, Queen of the Desert, which inspired the event. And you could really sense the pride and connection of the Broken Hill locals who really embraced this event. You can travel on the train from Sydney, which is part of the event, and they have some of the performers on the train, and it's a great train ride. And there were people from everywhere. I actually bumped into a couple from Canada, and they had heard about the festival and had always wanted to visit Australia. And the reason they decided to make the trip from Canada was because of the Broken Hill Festival.
Let's talk about this photo here. What can you tell me about this?
Technically, it's a pretty simple photograph, but it's more about the moment. And we used to say back in the days at the Sydney Morning Herald, in terms of capturing moments, you could almost forego a little bit of quality if you captured a great moment. So this image, technically it's fine, but to me it's about the moment and the colour and the connection with the subject, which is a sort of a skill in itself as a photographer. The beautiful thing about this parade and this festival is it is very connected to the public who go out to watch it. The barricades were very close to the cars as they drove through very slowly, so It's very accessible for all the public. There's certainly plenty of colour and excitement to capture. Anyone could have captured this moment along the parade route, and I guess that's the point.
All right, well, for your next photo, let's go back to where it all started for you, surfing. Let's talk about this photo you've taken down at Bondi Beach.
Yeah, this is a Bondi a few years ago now, but nothing's changed. It's the same background with those iconic apartments there. But yeah, look, it's an image that I was trying to get for years and I've thought about for years. I kind of wanted to sort of turn Bondi into Venice, I guess, where you had, these buildings coming out of the water. And I had to wait so long to get this because I needed the exact swell angle to produce these right-hand waves through the middle of Bondi. So I spent about 4 hours down at Bondi, literally sitting right near icebergs, but under the rock shelf, sort of underneath the footpath with a 400mm lens. And it was all about, first of all, framing up the units, the iconic units that I wanted in frame, but then waiting for the perfect wave to come through with the surfer in the perfect position. And, in 4 hours of waiting, and I probably took 300 or 400 images, there was just this one perfect wave. And just the way the guy's standing there with his arm dragging back, and there's another surfer on the shoulder sort of looking in. I knew straight away I had the shot. And, it was worth waiting years to capture. It was perfect.
So you said there that you're using a 400mm lens, which is obviously a telephoto lens. Can you explain how you've achieved the effect of having the apartments in the background look super close to the surfer on the wave?
So the beautiful thing with a telephoto lens is it compresses the foreground and the background. And so you can turn our location, such as Bondi, that everyone's familiar with, into a place that seemingly looks like somewhere else. I mean, obviously we know it's Bondi because of the apartments behind. They're very iconic. So someone looking at that photo straight away would go, yep, that's Bondi. What I tried to capture here was just making someone look at Bondi and go, well, I don't understand how did he capture this? Or I know it's Bondi, but it just looks strange. Use a long lens or think about a different angle and think about how you can turn that beach that we've all seen a million times into something different. And I think telephoto lenses are a great way to change a location and make it look different.
Okay, so for your final image, and still keeping in the ocean theme, let's talk about this underwater shot, and where was this taken?
So this was at Cabbage Tree Bay Aquatic Reserve over at Manly. It's the stretch of water between Shelley Beach and Manly, and it is a favourite photo of mine. It's of the Coal Classic swim event that happens every February, and I love the fact that now all across New South Wales there's this real push and momentum with ocean swimming events. And it's such a community event, like you have kids swimming with grandparents, lots of families together. So I'm just a huge fan of capturing these great events. And the Coal Classic, particularly over at Manly, I just love this image just because it's such a beautiful place anyway, even without the ocean swim. But to bob around in the water with a water housing for a few hours gives me nothing but great pleasure.
So obviously you take a lot of photos above water. What happens when you move into underwater photography? What changes in your methods?
Well, it's just another world. As soon as you immerse yourself or get below the surface, it is another world. So this particular image, my method is there are waves of swimmers that come with each start. And what I do is I dive to the bottom with my large housing. And as I get to the bottom and I turn around and I shoot as I'm rising back up to the surface. And it's sort of shooting blind, but you're not really, because you know what you want to capture. But the trick is you have to find a spot to come up between the swimmers. But what I love about using the water housing and diving down and capturing images like this is the editing process. When you go back and you sit at your computer, the beauty really unfolds when you sit down in front of the computer and start going through all your images, because it's all pretty hectic when these swimmers are going over the top. So you know what you're after, but you don't quite know what you're going to get.
What would be your top tips for shooting underwater?
When you're in the water, you need to shoot a lot and you need to move around a lot to capture different angles of the light. But I think shooting a lot is the key. You'll need to shoot a lot and you'll get something for sure.
Also, the water at some of the beaches in New South Wales is super, super clear.
The coastline of New South Wales is pristine, and whether it's schools of fish or reefs or bird life. It's even with a GoPro or portable water camera, you can even stick it over the side of a boat or a kayak and get some amazing shots of the coastline. You don't even need to be in the water, but certainly the beauty of New South Wales and its coastlines and estuaries and rivers, there are so many options for some great photographs in the water. Get out there and explore New South Wales, find the places that you love. And if you do have a GoPro, that's all you need.
And what do you reckon the best resources are for people to go to find locations to shoot in New South Wales?
Google. Jump on Google and look at Google Maps and Google Earth and have a look at the landscape. And look, there is so much to offer out there. And I don't think most of the people that live in New South Wales or even in Australia have really discovered that what New South Wales has to offer. There's something out there for everyone, and it's there to enjoy. So I urge everyone to take this time to start planning and get out there, because it's going to be fun when we do, and it's a beautiful place.
Dallas, thanks so much for taking the time today.
My pleasure, Mitch. It's been great.
Yeah, we'll chat again soon.
Look forward to it. Thanks very much.